Hi guys, my name is Bobby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm doing my November wrap-up. So, apologize, lighting is shit. It is cloudy and rainy. It's that time of year, so the lighting's gonna be crap. I could film in front of my window facing, but I don't like it because it washes everything out and makes the background really, really dark. So I apologize ahead of time for the shit lighting. I'll try to kind of angle myself. So I'm really sorry if this side of my face is really dark. I'm gonna hate myself when I go to edit this. But yeah, let's just jump right into the wrap-up. I read 4 books, like legit read 4 books this month. Got halfway through another, and the other one is a special circumstance. So let's get into it. So the book that I'm currently reading, and really the only one I would consider actively reading right now, is The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. This is an epic high fantasy that is huge. It is a chunk. I'm currently buddy reading this with my subscriber Cindy. We are 400 pages in, so I mean, that's all we got left. It's like a 670 something page book, I think. So close to 700 pages. This is a fantastic book. I love it so far. I've seen a lot of reviews, because this book came out in 2015. I've seen a lot of reviews on BookTube where people haven't really rated it all that high. And I think it's because, with it being the start of the series, and some of the language, like at the very beginning, the main character, who's a male, said he let out a breath he didn't know he was holding a couple of times, and that kind of shit irks me, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm not that concerned about it, but the story's fantastic. It's just hard to follow sometimes because you're getting a lot of information and there's a lot of characters, but it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. I can't say much more about it. It's hard to describe what it's about. It's about this character. I've kind of already explained it in my vlogs, but some of you don't watch my vlogs. So it's a character named Davian who lives in a world, it's a high fantasy world, where it used to be 20 years ago, it was ruled by these people called augurs, and augurs were magical, and they wielded power, which now I'm learning is called something completely different than the other people, but they have a power where they can read minds, they can foresee the future. All of them have different talents. Some of them can tell when you're lying, stuff like that. They ruled, and there were very select few of them, and then right below them were the gifted, and the gifted were more in numbers, and they wield what is called essence, which is, to me, like, it shoots bolts of light from their hands they can use to mold things, you know, tie people up, whatever, kind of like normal magic would be. And then everybody else who is non-magical. The non-magical people were tired of being ruled by the augurs, so they rose up and killed them all and enslaved the gifted by putting into place these tenets, and these tenets are not good. It pretty much oppresses the gifted. They have a tattoo mark that shows them as gifted. If they are gifted, they have to go to these special schools, and they can't use anything. They pretty much can't use their powers, because anything that, if you do, it sets off what is called a finder, and there's these administrators walking around, and if you get caught using your essence when you're not supposed to, which is pretty much never, then it's a killable offense. So it's a very oppressed world, and Davian is at a magical school. He's worried about failing his trials because he's marked as gifted, but he can't seem to pull from his essence. And he has suspected that he's actually an augur, and what this means for him. And very early on, like within the first 50 pages, he has taken off on an adventure. So this is a very much an adventure travel story with, normal epic fantasy travel adventure story. Like, the group that he ends up gaining more people, they're moving all over the world. And then you have Asha, who's a friend of Davian's, who has a perspective, and something else happens to her. I don't want to spoil it, to where she's not with Davian and Weir, and Weir's Davian's best friend, who leaves them on the adventure. They leave Asha behind, but then something happens at the school, and something else happens to Asha. So Asha's got her separate story over here, and then you've got Davian and Weir over here with theirs, and I assume they'll both intersect back together. This is book 1 of 3, and this is called the Lycanius trilogy. Book 3 doesn't come out until December 10th. Book 2 came out, I think, last year, the year before. So I'm loving this so much that I'm pretty sure that when I'm done with this, I'm going to have to pick up the next one, and Cindy agrees with me, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm not even done with it yet. I still have just over 200 pages to go, but I'm loving it so far. Sorry if the angle is off. My food was done, and I had to stop to eat, but timing, I suck at it. Okay, anyways, the next book in the wrap-up didn't actually read it, but I want to talk about it. And that's Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. Now, this was in my TBR, and I did want to read it. But then I had second thoughts. So, since I slumped for so bad for, what, 2 months? 2.5 months? I didn't want to put myself back in another slump. And I knew damn well this was going to put me back in another slump. I hated his other 2 books. Don't ask me why I got this one as well. I think I was hoping because the hype was so big for this one that it would be different and better than the other 2. Because usually as authors go on, the more books they put out, the better their writing is or the better their stories are. But for this one, it sadly wasn't true. So, or in my opinion anyways. And like I had said before, this has one of those endings, either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And I didn't actually read it. I went to start to read it, and I struggled, and I was like, I don't want to go back into a slump. So what I did is I put it down, Googled it, and found a full review with spoilers to see what it was about and how it ended. And it looks like he didn't do any better. Like, and this person actually enjoyed the book, so they explained everything and said how much they loved it. And for me, it's exactly like the other 2. He's shitty at writing female protagonists. All of his female protagonists are whiny and needy and, oh, poor me, damsel in distress, come save me. I can't stand that shit. Every once in a while is fine, but you're a male author. Why are you writing a female protagonist if you can't write a female protagonist? Like, not all women are whiny and mopey and need to be rescued by a man. And every single one of his books, a woman needs to be rescued by a man. It just pisses me off. Like, I don't like it. I'm not here for it. Like, And the ending was so stupid. So stupid. Like, the premise sounded cool. Like, a big old apartment building that's been around for years, and there's some mystery around it, and people have disappeared. I mean, the premise sounds good. And that's a problem with him. All of his premises sound really good, like Final Girls, about a girl who was the only survivor of a massacre, and all of her friends died, and then she is one of, like, 3 or 4 other final girls in, like, the state or wherever that she's from, to where, like, you know, she's considered a final girl, and these other girls have survived their tragedies and all this stuff, and, like, one of the final girls ends up dead in her bedroom, and it's like, with somebody killing the final girls? I mean, that's a cool concept. The execution was shit. Same with The Last Time I Lied. Last Time I Lied was, a camping story. Like, all of his books come out in July usually. And that was a camping story, like, an old campground that, kind of reminiscent of, like, 80s horror movies and stuff like that, where, 3 girls went missing, and she was in the bunk, but she didn't go with them, and so she's still alive, and, so they shut down the camp, and then she was invited back to the camp, to teach art because they're reopening it, but, she wants to find out what happened to her friends. I mean, premise sounds good. Execution was shit. Same thing with this one. It's like, dude needs to stop writing female protagonists. He needs to start writing from a male's point of view because he is a male, and he knows what it's like to be male. He doesn't know what it's like to be female because, as far as I know, he's not trans or non-binary or anything like that. He's a straight heterosexual male. Which straight and heterosexual mean the same thing. I don't know why I said both of them. But from what I understand, he's a straight male. He's a straight cis male. So there's no reason why he needs to be writing female protagonists if he can't write them. There are some male authors who are great at writing female protagonists. I've read them, and they're amazing. Riley Sager is not good at it. At all. Women are not all whiny, sniveling, damsel in distress people who... I can't. Not all women are like that. I'm sure there are a few out there, but they're not all like that. And this is your 3rd book where the protagonist is the exact same. And from what I remember, because this protagonist, like, she has no money and is down on her luck. I think the girl from The Last Time I Lied was as well, because she was a struggling artist. But the one in Final Girls was doing okay for herself, if I remember. But it's like they're all negative. Everything about it is negative. I don't know why I keep getting these. Like, after the second one, there's no reason I should have got this. But the hype around it was so big. He's coming out with another one next July as well, his 4th one. He's already released the title and the cover. I don't remember what it is or what it's called. But it looks like a haunted house story, I believe. I can't remember. But I think I'm going to wait also to see some reviews before I get it, just like I did with this one. I shouldn't even get it anyways, because I end up hating his books. Why do I do this? Why am I like this? Okay, now let's get into the 4 books that I actually read. I'm just going to go in the order that my stack is. These aren't necessarily the order that I read them. First of all is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This was my last of my first batch of BookTube darlings, and I gave this 3 stars. Everybody knows what A Darker Shade of Magic is. It's book one, I think, in the Shades of Magic trilogy. It follows a guy named Kel who, like, this is a fantasy... It's a fantasy world, but it's also our world. So there's different colored Londons. So gray London is our reality. And then there is red London, where Kel is from, and he's a magician who can travel between the different worlds. So it's pretty much time travel. Well, not really time travel. More like dimension jumping. Like, yeah, because they're different realities. So it's like, reality jumping, dimension jumping. All the timelines are the same, like, on the same one. But he's from Red London, and in Red London, there's magic aplenty. There's magic everywhere. It's used all the time. The river that runs through London, I always pronounce it wrong. It's spelled like Thames, but I know that's not how it's pronounced. I can't remember how it's pronounced. I'm a terrible person. But that river is where they draw a lot of their magic from, and almost everybody has magical ability in Red London, and that's where Kel is from. Then you have Grey London, which is our normal reality, where there's no magic at all. People used to be able to use magic, but they kind of forgot how, so there's just no magic. Then you have White London, which is really desolate and really, like, it's close to collapse, and it's ruled by these two evil twins. And, like, the rulers, like the kings and queens, keep switching because they just keep killing each other off for power. And, yeah, everybody there has a thirst for power, and so it's more of a dangerous world. And then you have Black London, which is completely shut off from everybody because magic took over and pretty much corrupted the entire world, or that entire dimension, and destroyed it, as far as they know. The door was shut, but that doesn't mean they can't not go there. Nobody just ever does, because there's only... I forgot, what are they? I'm bad. I forgot what they're even... Antari. So Kel is an Antari, and there's only him and one other one. Like, there's not many left. So the Antari are used by... One is from White London, and then Kel's from Red London, to send messages to the other kings and queens so they all know about each other. The general folk, well, most of them, the general population doesn't know that there's multiple realities. But that's beside the point. I only gave this 3 stars. It's a very easy to read book. It's very compulsively readable. I had no problems reading it. It's just, I was bored. Nothing really happened. It's kind of character driven, but kind of not. I mean, you get to know the characters. I really enjoyed Lila Bard. I know she's a favorite of a lot of people. It's just, nothing really happened until the end. It was, and it's like, for how long it was like, oh my god, we're not doing anything. But the chapters are really short, which I really enjoy in fiction. And V. Schwab's writing is really, really nice. Like, I enjoyed her writing. I just need more action in my fantasy stories. Like, I need more plot progression, and this is like one of those ones where the plot was just really slow to progress, and they just did a lot of hanging out and running around. And then, you had your quick little conclusion, but it was just set up for the next one. And I don't know if I'm going to continue, because I don't really favor stories like that. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue or not. I'm probably going to keep this edition, because this is a really gorgeous edition. And I did enjoy it. I didn't hate it. It was just, 3 stars isn't a bad rating. It's just middle of the road. And, I know this is a well-beloved book on BookTube, and I understand why. It's a very compulsively easy to read fantasy novel, which would be this is adult, and it would be a great bridge gap from YA to adult, because while there is adult themes in this, it's not really heavy-handed, and it's not super complicated, and the world building's really easy, so it would be easy for somebody to move over using this, for sure. But yeah, 3 stars. It was just okay. Next, I'm not going to talk about this one very much, because everybody on BookTube's heard about it a million times, but I finally finished The Clockwork Prints by Cassandra Clare. This is book 2 in the Dark Artifices. No, Infernal Devices. Dark Artifice is the other one. And the Infernal Devices. This one I only gave 3 stars as well. It was okay. I listened to this on audio. It's fine. Like, I like the Victorian London setting. I'm trying not to make it super shiny. I really like the Victorian London setting. It's good. It's just, this one wasn't... I like the Clockwork Angel better, and I hear the Clockwork Princess is, like, the best one ever. I do like the relationship between, Will, Tessa, and, what is his name? Why can't I remember his name? Jem. Duh. Yeah, I like it's like the perfect love triangle. Yeah, it's like probably one of the best written love triangles I've ever seen, where it doesn't annoy me. But it's good. It's a really good series. I really enjoy it. I'll probably continue on. I don't really have plans to do it this month, but the next one will be City of Lost Souls, which is book 5 in the Mortal Instruments. God, I've been out of the loop for a while. And then after that would be Clockwork Princess. And then the one, I don't have book 6 in the Mortal Instruments yet. And then it would just be those 2, and then the Dark Artifices, and I'd be caught up. But yeah, it was okay. It wasn't the best. I mean, it was kind of like middle book. Like, I mean, the plot progressed, but it was more maneuvering. I mean, it's kind of like one of those ones where everything kind of happened at the end, but everything that was working up to it was to build up the relationship between Jem, Will, and Tessa. So, it was good. 3 stars. Okay, the next 2 books were the ones that I actually, like, really enjoyed this month. First was The Huntress by Kate Quinn. This is a historical fiction. I buddy read this with my subscriber, Cindy, and I gave this 3 stars. So, or was it 4? Did I give it 4? Nah, I believe I gave it 3. I would rate it probably about a 3.5. But I can't remember if I went up or down with it. I can't remember. This is a World War II historical fiction, only this takes place after World War II ends and not during World War II. This tells the story of the Huntress, and you know right from the beginning who the Huntress is. She is a Nazi war criminal, and she was not tried during the Nuremberg trials, but she is a nasty person, and she has escaped, and there is multiple characters in this book, and this, God, that sounded really jumbled and confusing, but from the very beginning of the book, you know who the Huntress is. She has escaped Germany, and she's now living in the United States, and our first perspective is Jordan, and her mother passed away many, many years ago, and her dad has been a widower ever since, and the Huntress starts dating her father and eventually marries him. And that is not a spoiler because that literally happens in like the first chapter. You know immediately who the Huntress is and where she is. That's part of the intrigue of the book, is you're watching these people around her figure out who she is. And watching her manipulate and, you know, coerce and all that kind of stuff. So you follow Jordan's perspective. And of course she's immediately suspect of her because of the Huntress. She goes by Annalise in the book. She's immediately suspect of her because, you know, she's dating her dad and she thinks things are a little weird. So there's that. Then you have, what's his face? Ian. You follow Ian, who is the one hunting the Huntress, and he is based out of Venice. Yeah, I believe it's Venice or Vienna. Vienna, I think. Vienna. I think it's Vienna. It's one of the V cities in Italy. But he is based there, and he is hunting down small fry Nazi war criminals. So the ones that weren't included in the Nuremberg trials, like not the big, huge, like, you know, Himmler and stuff, like not the big guys. He is trying to catch the little guys that, you know, maybe not, you know, maybe they did some awful things, but they weren't big enough to be noticed for the big trials. And he is really interested in the Huntress because she killed his brother. And his brother was, you know, just a prisoner of war. You know, he wasn't in a concentration camp or anything like that. He wasn't Jewish. It was just he was a prisoner of war. So he has a really keen interest in the Huntress, and so he's trying to hunt her down. And so his story is, you know, all about who he's hunting and finding her. And then you have Nina. Nina is my precious baby and needs to be protected at all costs, and I would read an entire fucking book based on Nina. Nina is Russian. She's sassy. She's bitchy. She don't give a fuck about anything. She's just, oh, she's amazing. So she is Ian's wife, just by law. He met her in a hospital when she had been rescued as a refugee, and he thought that she was speaking Polish, but he's dumb. She was actually speaking Russian, and agreed to marry her so he could send her to the UK to live, and so she could be free as, you know, a refugee, and she had to, you know, obviously marry him to do that. So she has been in the UK for like 4 or 5 years, and he hasn't seen her. And she comes back because they were supposed to get a divorce, and she sees the file for the Huntress, and she's intrigued because she knows the Huntress. She was there when she killed his brother, and it was, so she has and she was close to his brother, and it was one of those things where she wants to get her too. And in Nina's perspectives, you don't get her present day perspective, you get her past perspective during the war. So Nina starts in 1937 Russia, and it goes all the way through the war, and she was, what did they call them? The Night Witches? I think so. She flew planes for Russia. And they talk about Stalin and all of that. Comrade Stalin. I think it's funny how the Russians, they call each other comrade. I guess it's the same as calling somebody friend. But it shows Nina from way living out in Serbia, like way out in the middle of the tundra, nowhere, and how she progressed from being with an abusive alcoholic father and getting all the way through to where she is flying with the night witches in the Russian army. And I think it's Army or Air Force. And her story is amazing. She is a bisexual. She's an on-page bisexual. The term bisexual is not used, but she is shown having sex with a man and had a relationship with a man, and then she later has a relationship with a woman. So she's clearly bisexual. She's just... And then in her present day, she's also been with a man as well. So it's not like a one and done. I love her. I love her. I love her. Nina's character was fucking amazing. I loved watching her. Like, I hated reading everybody else's chapters. I just wanted to get back to Nina's. The reason this book only got 3 stars, or yeah, I think I ended up giving it 3. I can't remember. Cindy knows. We both gave it the same rating. It was because of the ending. The ending was very anticlimactic. While the story getting there and the build-up getting there was really great and easy to read and fun, the climax was just ho-hum, and that's why I ended up getting 3, because it was a solid 4-star all the way through, until the ending. I'm glad I read it. I probably will keep it, because I did enjoy it, and I want other people to read it, like my coworker Patricia. I'll probably loan it to her to read, because she would love this, and I think her book club would love this. But yeah, I would highly recommend it if you're into historical fiction, because it is so interesting, and with it being a World War II book that takes place after the war, makes it just that much more special, because it's different, and not a lot of people, you know, write like that. It's always about the war, and this is what happens after, and like the after effects and the aftermath, and how people acted and treated Jewish people or German refugees, depending. Like, it was an interesting look on it, and I really enjoyed it. Why did I look down? I was like, I really enjoyed it. Okay, and then the last book I'm going to talk about is Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade. I was reading this in October, and this was the casualty of one of my slumps where I stopped in the middle, but I did finish this, and I gave it 5 stars. This is fucking amazing. I absolutely love it. I talked about it a lot in my other one, so I'll try to keep it short. This tells the story of Aslo. Aslo is the best friend of a chosen one in this world, and this is all about what happens if the chosen one dies right from the beginning. What happens if the prophecy fails and the chosen one fails? What happens then? Does the world just lay down and die? Do people go up to arms to try to fight it? What happens? And this is the story. This is book 1. I don't remember. Let me look at the back. Like, if there's a name of the series. I don't think. No. Oh, Shout of the Prophecy, book 2. So I'm assuming Shroud of the Prophecy is the name of the second one, but it doesn't say what the name of the series is. Yeah, but this book was fucking fantastic. Sam from Thoughts on Tomes has just hauled this, and I can't wait for her to read it, because she's gonna fucking love it. So it puts a whole bunch of fantasy things all in one. So you get a whole bunch of fantasy, little, not tropes, but little nuggets that you always see, like, based, kind of like in a medieval setting. It is, there's mages and magic, which there's gods and goddesses, like, there's all sorts of different things that they pull from the fantasy genre. And the gods and goddesses was really, really cool, because they have multiple gods and goddesses that are helping control what's going on and have to deal with the prophecy as well. And then you have a reaper. It was fucking fantastic, and I absolutely loved it. It's so short too. It's like barely, I don't even think it's 400 pages. No, it's like 345 pages. And for a 345 page small fantasy book to pack such a punch is just amazing. Like, I highly suggest you read it if you love any kind of fantasy, because it is so, so good. It's just, I would call it, I guess, fantasy light. It's not necessarily an epic fantasy, but it would be a good branch between, like, fantasy light to an epic fantasy, because there's a little bit of both. It's really, really easy to read, easy to follow. There's maps, and the setting is more like an epic fantasy, but it doesn't read like an epic fantasy, if that makes sense. But if I were to recommend anything I read this month, it would definitely be Fate of the Fallen. It was so, 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 so good. I can't wait for the next one, and it'll probably be well over a year before we get it. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my November wrap-up. Please let me know down in the comments below what you read in November, what you thought of these books if you've read them, because I'd really like to know. I'm glad I read at least 4 books this month. We're trending up. I haven't finished anything yet this month, but granted, it's only day 3 of the month. But, I'm good chunk of the way through the Shadow of What Was Lost, and I think I'm going to be starting Ninth House here pretty quick. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please leave me comments below. I love interacting with you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.